I know you're afraid of the...
Okay, Chevra.
You're afraid of the Rosh Hashanah.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Bam 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 bam. Ay ay da 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 da. Ay 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 ay. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam 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 bam. Bam ba da dum bam bam. Bam ba da dum bam. Ba da 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 da. Bam ba da dum bam bam. Bam ba da dum bam. Ba da 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 da. Ay 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 ay. Da 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 ay 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 Chaim Tov L'Shalom Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam She'at Kol Neh B'Dvarim. Chaverim, good morning. Good morning, everybody. We continue to learn the month of Elul Leilei Nishmas Bas Yafega Bas Yisrael Levi ben Yosef for the refuah of Leah Shoshana Bas Malya, for the refuah of Sarah Bas Rachel Fega. The week is sponsored by Sophia Bina Kerzner for the refuah Shlema of her Abba Yidel ben Rachel. Anything else? Oh, yeah. And these shiurim on Wednesday mornings are sponsored. So shaykh right now. Mukdash Lischut Chayalinu Hakdoshim Bifrat Nachshon Shlomo ben Bluma Malka Gittel and Aaron ben Rachel Baracha. Should be a shmira on all of our chayalim. Shem Yishmerem, and just take care of the job. Be'ezer Hashem, and we should see Nisim ben Niflos. Be'ezer Hashem. Okay, brothers. Today we're going to go back to roots, back to basics a little bit. Before we learn this piece from Reb Shlomo and Rosh Hashanah, I want to say something that he said about Rav Kook. And I think this will help us understand what we're learning from, what we're drawing from. How did Rav Kook write Oros HaTshuva? When you look at the Hakdama for Oros HaTshuva, Rav Kook is mevohal. He's completely in awe he's completely mevohal, he's completely freaked out from the notion that he's approaching this thing called tshuva. It's like such yira v'fachad. You know, he has such kavod to the whole inyan of tshuva. It's unbelievable. He's in awe of it. And he writes there how he came to the conclusion why he should still write about tshuva and write Oros HaTshuva. It's in Hakdama, mamash before he even begins. Reb Shlomo once said that Rav Kook learned every single sefer on tshuva. He internalized every sefer on tshuva. He cried over the Rambam Zichos Tshuva. He cried over Shari Tshuva of Rabbeinu Yonah. He cried obviously over the Geras Tshuva of the Alter Rebbe and all the Ma'amarei Chazal on tshuva. And then it was like a fruit of his learning, and then he squeezed the fruit, and the juice that came out is Oros HaTshuva. That's what it is. Even though it sounds like a chiddush because it's in his lashon, but really it's all from everything that he had learned, absorbed, and cried over. There's something that I see by many people when it comes to learning pieces from Reb Shlomo, and I see this all the time because I've been into this business for a long time, is that because it doesn't sound like a sefer that we're used to, there's a zilzul. There's a little bit of a zilzul. How do you say zilzul? Yeah, what did you say?
I said, what is it?
Zilzul. It's like a cheapening. It's like, he's so cute. There's a little bit of a disrespect. I'm not saying here, Baruch Hashem, I'm just saying in the world, in the Welt. But you have to understand that, it's so cute. It's so cute. Chavre. It's it may be cute. That's the last thing anyone should feel when it comes to these Torahs, because it's the same Inyan. It's that he learned everything. He really did. He Pashut really did. He just was so humble that he never felt the need to show you and explain to you that he learned everything. That's the Inyan. He never felt the need to show you. Sometimes you have people when they speak, they have the need to show you, I learned Gemara, I know how to learn Tosfos, I know Rishonim, I know Achronim. He just didn't care. He never got involved in that. It never bothered him. It was never his Inyan. But what we're going to be seeing today, though it sounds obviously cute on some level, because it's his Lashon. It's edited, but it's his Lashon. It is drawing from the Sfarim hapnimim biyoter, from the deepest Sfarim of Chassidus, from the deepest Gemaras, from the Zohar HaKodesh, but it's in his Lashon, and it demands of us to just be mevutal before it, because it's Yesh po inyan, there's an inyan for us to go into Rosh Hashanah very differently, like completely differently. As chaverim, definitely. As a group of friends, like completely differently. And one of the reasons why we always learn in Hebrew, even when things are available in English, is also because I don't want you guys to read ahead. You see it's in English, so you'll read ahead, right? But today we're sticking to English, because I just want his voice to be very apparent in the words, as apparent as possible. So therefore we're going to be singing a piece in English that I transcribed over 20 years ago. And every year when I look at this before Rosh Hashanah, I see another angle of how to go into this Mahalach. And that's really was important for me to share before we go inside. So if you're able to hold back from reading ahead, I'll tell you what the real reason is, because it won't help. It's not for you to get what's in this piece. If we're reading just to say, it's in English, I could read ahead, it won't help. Now some people can't control it. En ma lasot, pseder, en ma lasot. But if you can, to keep your finger on with me, it would be helpful for the limud that we need, not for me. It would be helpful for the limud that as a kvutza, we need to do over here. And it's going to touch upon very sensitive places in terms of what kind of friends do you have and what kind of friends do you wish you had. And that's a sugya bifnei atzma. You know, most people, I don't know when I almost said most people our age. I'm looking in this room. There's from 22 to Baruch Hashem to older. There's 22 and north of 85. So you can't our age. I don't know what our age is, but definitely we share something. We share something, and that's like this Rav and this Tzama. You know, that we definitely share, and that makes it the most beautiful. So let's look inside. Also very excited that this Shabbos, we're going to have the schus to have someone that wrote a lot of different things, but one of his Sfarim that he has, everyone knows, in Rosh Hashanah, like I thought about it because the title, Awesome Days. How do we usually refer to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? Days of awe. But then when you say awesome days, it puts the whole thing in a different light. Rav Avram Sutton is going to be here this Shabbos. He's staying by Yossi. We'll hear from him over Shabbos, Be'ezer Hashem. It's going to be a big treat. So, Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of ma'ayanot of chokhmah to take advantage of. And Hashem should just please keep on sending the right shluchim to us to keep on me'orer our lev and our nefesh. To be awake, and to be besimcha, and to be plugged into each other. Reb Shlomo says like this: the amount of closeness to someone is not how much we see each other when there's light. Closeness depends on how much we see each other in darkness. Just stam, again, just to show you the referencing. When did Am Yisrael feel closest during Golus Mitzrayim? When do you think? During Makas Choshech. Because what does it say over there? V'chol b'nei Yisrael haya'or b'moshvosam. The Joshes of Chazal is that when they were dwelling together in the Choshech, they felt closest to each other. They didn't feel like there was any Choshech. They felt so close to each other. And so he's saying over here, Real closeness depends on how close you are, dafka, when there's darkness, not about when things are gewalt. If I want to test myself and see how close I am to my own house, it's simple. Imagine I'm checking into the Hilton in Paris. Unless there's light in the room, I don't know where anything is. But when I come into my own house, I don't have to turn on the light. I know where everything is because I'm so close to it. Now, if there are certain people you don't like, then you don't want to sit with them when it's dark. You also don't want to sit with them and close your eyes, by the way. I've noticed this as well. You don't want to be in a room and say, okay, everyone close. Like last night, I did this thing. I had this privilege of teaching by Rav Zinger's, I don't know what to call it, on the campus in Neve Daniel, Makor Chaim. Rav Zinger there was like 700 people there that came to this day of Hitchatshut Alev Neshama, all these sadnaot, all these workshops for a few hours, and the most incredible musicians in between. It was just such pure air. It was amazing. I had the privilege of doing a session in English, then a session in Hebrew, and I saw that a lot of people didn't know each other, but I asked them to close their eyes. I did that whole thing where I asked them to close your eyes and think of two people you love. That usually makes people feel really freaked out, but the more open you are, the more you don't mind. It's fine. And by chevra like that, open chevra, they had no problem closing their eyes in a room with people that they don't know. But here he's saying, if there's certain people you don't like, you don't want to sit with them when it's dark. You don't mind sitting with them when there's light. Well, when there is light on. But when it's dark, you don't want to sit with them. The darker it gets, the less you want to sit with them. Why is this so? So our holy rabbis teach us that the light which existed before God created the world was hidden and kept for the righteous ones. Right? Which light are we speaking about? Oraganus. The concealed light. That light which is from before God said, let there be light, which is the light of Mashiach, this light cannot stand anything which is not close. Okay, let's unpack this. Vayomer Elokim yehi or vayhi or is not the type of light that we're speaking about. That type of light is that people you could get around in this world. The oragonus, the concealed light, usually when do we refer to the concealed light during the year? Hanukkah. Hanukkah is like the closest we get to it. But be'emes la'amito, Reb Shlomo is saying over here, this or hagonus that was concealed right before, in order to tap into that light which our neshamas want much more than the light of Yehi Or, you with me? That type of light, you can't, unless there's closeness, and we'll see to who and to what, you have no access to that light. In other words, what everyone loves to say when they want to show that they're deep, I'm into pnimius. I'm getting sick and tired of that word. For me personally, I can't take it anymore. Pnimius. Because I feel like it's becoming like this, it's just a trend again. It's a movement. It's like, it's losing its touch. Pnimius over here means closeness. To what? We'll see in a second. We'll see in a second. It's like we used to say back in the day, oh, I hope this song doesn't become atatakumd. That's what we used to say. You know what I mean? Atatakumd, as a like it becomes an atatakumd. Because like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when all these minyanim, these Reb Shlomo minyanim started spreading like wildfire, right? Suddenly everyone was doing it, right? But the only nigun that people knew, right, and that they just abused was atatakum, right? Over and over again. And then you have a chaver that's like, we have to go the completely other way and never sing that. Kind of like us, but hopefully we slipped it back into slichas this year, in the middle of slichas. But, you know, it's this inyan of, let's stick with what it's really about. The world of pnimius is the world of closeness. Or haganus means I can only tap into this light, this pre-creation light that Hashem concealed and lets us get drops of it only when there's closeness in the room between me and the person next to me, between me and the Ribono Shel Olam, and almost more importantly, between me and my own neshama. And we have ways here in this teaching to figure out, am I be'emet part of this or aganos or not? And how Rosh Hashanah connects to this. I want to share something very deep with you. Third paragraph. Why do we count after the moon? Why is the first mitzvah regarding the moon? The moon is the absolute in-between. The moon does not take away the darkness, but the moon reminds me that in all the darkness, there is this great light. And that's our Yiddishkeit, our first mitzvah, is more connected with something that's concealed from regular light and tapping me into Pnimius HaTorah, the first mitzvah, and the way we count, the way we lead our lives, our calendars, the way our days. We're not in the beginning of the day right now, we're actually in the middle of the day, according to the way that the world, that Vayi Erev Vayivoka, right? When does the day start? Or Aganos. The day starts when there's potential for Or Aganos, you understand? Not Or Vayi Or of the morning. Or Aganos. Now what he says over here is what I told you before about what all the tzaddikim say in all the Sfarim. What Reb Shlomo does is he feeds it to you on a spoon. And he says, you need a dose like, what was that song from Mary Poppins?
Spoonful of sugar.
Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Yeah. We have I don't know why, I feel very close to that nigun because it's the spoonfuls of sugar to take medicine, which is what? The deepest Ma'amarei Chazal, that in the Sfarim, unless we're learning with real Gdolim that have this ability to keep on translating it to our Lashon, you need sometimes not for it to be what's that word, compressed, but just to be given over in a very sweet way. Rosh Hashanah is bakese liyom chagenu. Tiku b'chodesh shofar, bakese liyom chagenu. What does kese mean? Kisui, covering. What's covered? The day of our holiday when the moon is concealed. There's mamish no light at all. Rosh Hashanah is there, as opposed to the 15th of the month, when it's revealed. The moon itself, that which is the in-between, is completely concealed as well. Zot omeret, we're starting off the year with dealing with Or Hagonas, with the concealed light. Because it's Bakese Liyom Chagenu. It's completely concealed. There is no light. For this year, every time when I say no light, I'm referring to
hidden light.
Huh? No, there's an abundance of the bidiyuk, of the light that I could relate to as a tangible thing in this world. Rosh Hashanah is Baker Seliyam Chagenu. That's not there bichlal. Bichlal not there. That's why you should just know, Chevra. It's not just in Breslov. It's in many places. Why is there such a pachad and be careful of your dibur on Rosh Hashanah first day? Because the new year begins with bench. It begins at night. And then there's a vacuum, basically, of almost like a twilight zone until the first Kia on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Because it's a new year, you're not feeding off of the light and the of last year. That's already done. Like soon, Tafshin Pehei is going to be completely done once we bench licht Monday night, right? Monday night. Then there's like this, almost like this lay low until that first blowing of the shofar comes on Yontiv on the first day. That's why I remember the first time that I went to Uman, no one told me about this, and I saw so many of my friends already then, and no one was talking to me. No one was talking to me, and it was very weird. It's very bizarre. Like I saw these people I hadn't seen in a long time, and like no one was talking to me, but no one told me the whole Indian that we don't really talk on the first day. It's an important thing. It's really there. It's not such a chachma because you're davening anyway till 4:30, so it's not like a big deal. But the first night Seuda was like a silent meditation retreat. Lahavdil. It was in Uman. It was like 25 years ago, but still. Why? Because it's bakes. Everything is concealed. Everything is concealed. You have to be in awe of what you're going into. until that first blowing of the shofar, where there's a neshima chadasha that's taking place into the world, breathing new light, new or, new energy. And here, I need you to open your hearts in the deepest way. Now Reb Shlomo is going to explain lemaisa, what is the difference between Or Aganuz and the Or of Vayehi Or, and our level. The Torah has two levels of light. The level of light which shows me what I should and what I should not do. This is the level of God saying Yehi Or. But the light which only has to do with absolute closeness to God comes from before God said Yehi Or. If there would be no world, just me and God, imagine how close we would be. In a very strange way, I feel less close to God only because there is a world. Do you understand that last line? What example do we have this in the Torah? Of a person that was totally in the world, there was a whole world, but he was holding on to the Or Aganuz, which means that I feel so close to Hashem. It's not about doing or not doing. It's a sense of closeness. What example do we have in the Torah? We have it mefurish from a pasuk. It's not so complicated. Think about it. Who? Huh? Go back a little bit. Avram Avinu. Why do we know this? Says the Torah, that whole base Ishbitz, base Pshischa, they all speak about this. After Avram Avinu enters the Bris Milah, and there's such closeness between him and the Ribono Shel Olam. What's the next pasuk? How does Parshas Vayera begin? What are the words of Parshas Vayera? How does it start? Yeah. What should have it said? Vayera Hashem El Avram. Why does it say Vayera Elav Hashem? Because when you get that close, a Yidel is supposed to feel that no one else in the world exists. And that's what Avram Avinu felt. So there was no need to even say his name in the Parsha, Vayera Elav Hashem, Belanei Mamrei, because at that moment that he tasted such closeness, no one else in the world existed. Now this Maila, we see by really big people, that when they talk to you, they give you a sense, a chush, that no one else in the world exists. We have people like this in our lives. Like Be'emes, there could be a crowd of a lot of people, and you know people are waiting, but when they're with you, no one else in the world exists. I felt this very clearly. I had the schus of being by Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and by looking into his eyes, straight into his eyes, and he was looking into mine. It felt like 3 hours. It was probably about 35 seconds, if that. And I felt that no one else in the world existed at that moment. Mamish. He Mamish gave that over to me. And the real Rabbis, the real tzaddikim have this chush. This basically is Or Haganah's light. Or Haganah's light makes you feel that the chaver that you're with is the only chaver in the world that exists at that moment.
Is this along the lines of Bishvili Nivra?
Probably. I mean, hopefully, but not in a gaivadik way. Remember, Reb Simcha ben Pshischa, they say this about the Kotzker, they say about everyone I saw, mainly by Reb Simcha ben Pshischa, that he used to walk around with 2 pieces of paper in his pockets, right? On the one it said, Bishvili Nivra Olam, and the other one it said, Anochi Afar Ve'efer, yeah, which is like saying Ani Efes, but in a nicer way, right? So you have to have the balance. We're not talking about it in a gaivadik way, we're just talking about closeness. Just about closeness. So the light of when Hashem says Yehi Or, that is the light that's more shaykh to be holy. Do holy things. Be kadosh. Do this and don't do this. That's through the light of Yehi Or. But the light of Bereishis Bara Elokim, the light that comes before that, has to do with, it is awesome to be in your presence, Ribono Shel Olam. It is awesome to feel, and you all experienced this about a half hour ago without even realizing it. Because when you were davening Shmona Esrei, you all felt what I just said right now. And yet you were conscious of the fact that you're in a room filled with people. But when you were davening Shmona Esrei, you tasted this Or Haganahs of if I'm davening Shmona Esrei and I'm thinking in my mind, everyone else is asking for things right now too, you're out of Shmona Esrei. You're not there. In Shmona Esrei, when you meet the level of Yechida, there's no one else in the world that exists at that moment. And everyone feels that simultaneously. That's the pele of our mahalach of davening. You all tasted it just a few minutes ago. So what happens on Rosh Hashanah? On the bottom over here. On Rosh Hashanah, I realized that God created the world just for me. Not that God created trillions of bodies, and I am one of those bodies, and God placed within me a little soul with a sophisticated operating machine, threw some bones together, and that's how I exist. Like the same way Manischewitz produced 2 million matzahs. God produced so many people. It's not like this. But I cannot see this or feel this without the light of Rosh Hashanah. This is what Rosh Hashanah is all about. I can't feel this inyan of it's just, you created the whole, like I'll tell you what you brought up, the bishvili, איך קוראים לגרוזיני שירד מהארץ? ישראל לא בשבילי. Whatever, it's a side joke. Anyway, bishvili, like I can't feel that unless I'm tapped into what Rosh Hashanah is all about. Bakeser, on the surface, there's nothing, there's nobody, other than Oraganus. Oraganus is, the whole world was created just for me. And I'm standing right now before Melech Malchei Amlachim, and therefore my bechira of crowning the king, maybe the whole world is talui on my hamlacha, on my crowning of the king. I don't know, maybe. In the world of Oraganus, it probably is. So if I could say so, now he goes further. Yehi Or is the Torah Shebichsav, and Bereshis Bar Elokim is the light of Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is the deepest light there is because it's just God and I. What does that mean? Everybody knows that Torah Sheba'al Peh is only at night. You learn Torah Sheba'al Peh at night. You know what this means? The highest thoughts don't come to you during the day. They always come at night because the light of the night, of the Keseh, comes from another place. When God created the world, He began with the night and then with the day. Vayi erev, vayi boker means that that first God gave the world Torah Sheba'al Peh, and then Torah Shebichsav, which is usually the exact opposite of what we say, in a level of order. What do we say came first? Torah Shebichsav. Torah Shebichsav. And then comes Torah Sheba'al Peh. But be'emes, la'amito, it's flipped over here. What came first? Oraganus. What's Oraganus? Torah Sheba'al Peh. Vayi erev. Then vayi boker, Torah Shebichsav. That's the order of Vayi erev, vayi boker. You with me, Chavra? Listen, you should know. Huh?
We also know that our fathers were holding matzah and halacha in some sort of a way for themselves. So it was the Baal Peh. It was the Torah.
Hayam Mashu. Rav Kook speaks about this, and he refers to his Chazal speak about this. Rav Kook expounds on this because he wants us to believe that what you just said is a mitzvah. It's called klayot yoatzot, which means kidneys that are counseling kidneys. We've learned this a few times.
Feel it in your kishkas.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, where does that come from? How did all those examples of Avram Avinu and Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, how they did all these things, where did it come from?
He engraved it into the trees, into the nature. Just the reality of the world is the Torah. We gives the Torah when we lost that ability, but the Avos they looked at the world and they learned the Torah from the DNA of the existence.
Of existence, of just existence. Right, so the more that you're tuned in, to your, this is what it really is all about. The more that you're tuned into your own neshama, the more that you are seeing the Eibishter, the Ribono Shleilam, and Torah Sheba'al Peh in absolutely everything. Rav Kook writes in Oris Teshuva, Perek Daled, I think, or Gimel, Al Yedei HaTshuva, Hakol Shav LeElokus. Everything in the world returns to godliness through tshuva, through going back to the way that Hashem created the world, based on what Aryeh said now, Istakel Baraiso Bara Alma. Okay, so we're building up. We're still not yet on the Avodah L'Maisa. We're still talking up here, and we're hopefully going to bring it down to a very lemaisa place in a second, okay? So therefore, it says, Hashem Ori V'Yishi. God is my light and my salvation. What do Chazal say Ori is? Rosh Hashanah. Oh, interesting. Hashem says Ori V'Yishi. And Yishi is Yom Kippur. And then where does Sukkot come in? Ki tzpeineni b'sukkah yestideni b'seiser olo, right? That's why we say this whole kapitel. One of the reasons why we say the whole kapitel during this Zman. But look what he does here. So therefore it says Hashem Ori V'Yishi. God is my light and my salvation. The Medrash says that my light is on Rosh Hashanah and my salvation is on Yom Kippur. What kind of a light is it? It's dark. Ba'kesel liyom chagenu. It's not the light from Vayehi Or. It's the light from Bereishis bara Elokim. That's what David HaMelech was referring to. Hashem Ori V'Yishi. You are my light. I say it's Rosh Hashanah. What light am I talking about? It's the light of Kishka, is what you said. That type of light is what we're referring to. Now he starts to explain what all of this means. Okay, this was all Kilu. Honestly, what he gave us right now was more or less a hakdama for Kisvei Arizal, Eser Talmud, Eser Asfiras, and all the other Gutta Pnimiyas Dika Zachin that people love to feel close to or connect to. But now it's okay. That was like Yud and Hey. Now let's get to Vav and Hey, hopefully. Okay? We're living in a world where people laugh at each other. But he also once said the same line, and he said, we're living in a world where people are able to laugh with each other, and I think that's what he means here. But do you realize that people don't cry with each other anymore? You don't have to be so close to someone in order to laugh with them. I can tell anyone a joke, but to cry you have to be very, very close. To cry with someone. Take that in for a second. And you think about it in your own life, how many people can you really say? To laugh with, plenty. I think all of us, plenty. We do it all the time.
With or for?
Huh?
Cry with or cry for?
Well, he's going to say that it really doesn't matter in like 2 paragraphs, but for now, with. Okay? For now, with. Honestly, I think crying for us Yiddelach the last 2 years we're there. We're there. I don't know what happened. This Yiddelach that just came to shul right now, the one that just, this Hasidic Yid, this guy ripped me. He ripped my, I don't know what happened. You heard him speak? This guy, I don't know what it was. What's happened to us in Klal Yisrael, just to address what you're saying, Zev, to cry for someone is a very, 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 very high level. But I'm going to have the chutzpah to say that to cry with someone is even deeper. And think about it. How many people do you have in your life that you could actually cry with? Cry with. Because that'll be the testament as to really, do you have any real close friends in your life? Not people that you know have your back if you got into financial stress. Baruch Hashem, we live amongst tzaddikim in this neighborhood. Tzaddikim, gemurim. I talk about this all the time with you guys. Tzaddikim, gemurim, in that department. People you could cry with. Do you have anyone like that in your life? Don't raise your hand. It's not a shy, I'm not asking anybody to say. Why? Because it's one of the most painful things in the world when you realize that you may have 30,000 friends that you could laugh with and not one that you've ever been able to cry with. And now you could start saying, I'm just not that kind of guy. I'm just not that kind of guy. That's, what does that say about a person that says, I'm just not that kind of guy? What are you basically saying about yourself?
I don't have any friends. I'm just that kind of guy. I don't have any friends.
I'm just that. I mean, you went to the core. Like, that's true. What else does it say about a person like that? What are they saying about themselves without realizing it?
I'm not secure enough to look up.
It means honestly, I'm a control freak. I don't even believe that I could not be a control freak. But you're Mr. Social. Everyone loves you. You're that guy who comes into shul, high fives, hugs, this and that. Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing. Yeah.
Covered a rub. How can you say that nobody feels for cries with someone, I don't think there's a person in not only the room, but in Eretz Israel that isn't crying every day for the Chayalim.
No. Let's go back to the diuk we said before. That's why Zev brought up a very good diuk. There's a difference. It's exactly what we said. To cry for someone, all of us are able to. That's what I was saying. To cry with someone. To cry with someone is a different zach. For and with are two completely different worlds. Mm-hmm. You know why? Because do I have to be with anybody to cry for them? No. Do I have to be with somebody to cry with them?
Yes.
Yes. And that's petrifying. I'm not that kind of guy. Okay, so Yossi told you what you are. It's true. You're friendless. You're friendless. People ask me all the time, what's the greatest dream you have for the shul? I always say that the chevra reach a level that they're able to cry with each other. I feel that. Once I saw this years ago, I was like, that's utmost closeness. Well, you don't care about laughing and simcha? Don't worry about that. That's more natural. That's fine. That's there. And even on a higher level, to be besimcha really with someone, for someone, to cry with someone, that is a completely different world. That's Or Haganuz. That's Bereishis Bara Elokim. That is Torah Sheba'al Peh. Because there's nothing more awesome and more close than that. Now look what he says. All year long, we're not close enough to God to cry. But Rosh Hashanah, what is the shofar if not crying? Tkiya, Shvarim, Trua, Tkiya. And in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara goes into the whole debate whether the Tkiyas are Yilulei Yalal or Ginuchei Gonach, trying to understand what type of krechts it is. But the Lashon of the Gemara is speaking about crying. That is what the shofar is. That is our first entry into the world. Remember what I told you before? That until the first blowing of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, on that first day, there's no real world. It's almost like tohu for half a day. Until the first blowing of the shofar. But until the first what? Cry. Now let me tell you, Chevra, you all, kimat everyone in this room has been zoche for this, and hopefully those that need to be zoche for it will be zoche for this. When a baby's born and the first few seconds that they don't cry is more pachad ve'ema than anything you've ever experienced in your life. Anything. Those first few moments that they don't cry. If they don't come out crying already, right? And then when they let that out, that cry, have you ever felt more closer to anything real in your life? Ever. Now the Zohar HaKadosh says a gewalt thing. Reb Shlomo taught the following thing. In 1972, he said 1977, in May of 77, he taught the following piece from the Zohar HaKadosh. Listen to this. I think we learned this once. He said that the Zohar says that the first cry of a baby is saying, what in the world am I doing here in this world? That's the first cry. You have to be really close to someone to ask them that question. And what's the second cry? The second cry is, how come nobody could hear me? That's what the Zohar says, are the first two cries of the baby, the Tkiya and Shvarim of the baby. We enter the year like a baby crying, what am I doing here in this world? And the Shvarim, I'm broken because no one can hear me and I don't even hear myself. That's how we start the year, looking for closeness, sensing closeness. Or Aganus, Torah Sheba'al Peh.
What's the third one?
Huh?
What's the third one?
Trua. We're going to get there. Trua is a lashon of nitzachon and a milchama. A trua, hariu l'Hashem kol haaretz, alludes to a victory. What's the victory? You know, we'll do it right now. What's the victory? The victory is not that I found someone to cry with yet. But the victory is that I was able to let out a krechts. That's already a victory. That's already being victorious. You know, you ever go to these workshops or these retreats, and obviously with the chevra that are hanging around the psychedelic scene, that moment where the tears start pouring out, you don't care about problem solving at that moment. That's not what you care about. There's a serenity of shalom v'shalva that tears actually came out. There's a level of chiyus that you've never tasted before. Ever. That's the nitzah, that's the trua. And then I go back to tkiya. Now let me start again. Let me do it even deeper. Let me cry even from a closer place, from a more real place. V'chozer, let's move. Until tkiya gedola, declaring this year is going to be a year of being able to be so close to you, to myself, and to my friends. That's the nitzachon. That's the victory. Now look what he says here. This is such Reb Shlomo words. It's awesome to be close. Yamim Noraim are called the awesome days, days of awe. Awesome. It's not, now here he says, if we just said this line, you'd go into like, well, he's mamish a koifer. Look what he says. It's not awesome to do God's will. It's holy, but it's not awesome. Awesome means to be close to God. It's awesome to be so close to God when you can pour out your heart before Him. When children are born, they feel so close to us, and therefore they're always crying. When they get older and realize, Gewalt, I made a mistake, I can't be so close to my parents anymore. Why? Because they're ashamed of me, or they build up their own defense mechanisms, and it's not always their fault. So what ends up happening? They stop crying, and it's so heartbreaking. Meaning they stop crying to us, and it's so heartbreaking. I always tell parents that when their babies are crying, they got to soak it in and listen to it so much, because someday our babies won't cry so much. And we should always remember how it sounded when they were crying. I've tried to remember this many nights at 3 a.m. You should know, it doesn't always make me feel so good, but many nights it has made me feel good, like last night. I knew we were going to learn this. Chava's like, yeah, you want to teach this? And by let's meet at 3:40, and 4:10. He's like, this is what you want to learn? Great, yeah, you could teach this stuff, right? Come, huh? Like they do better than anybody else, putting us to the test. Now imagine, chas v'sholom, that my baby falls off a chair, and the first thing is that she's crying. You know what it is? She doesn't talk yet about fixing the hurt. Maybe later she will. First, she needs somebody to cry with. Later comes the fixing. I just want to say, this is basically the difference between Zachar and Nekeva as well. Because when the Nukva cries, what does the Zachar think right away? Fix it. And then you give the greatest solution, and you have eyes of disgust look at you at that moment. What are you doing? I love you. I see you're in pain. I'm trying to fix this. How is this fixing the matter? I just gave a whole plan. What do you mean? Who cares about that? like the pneumius of a child. Right? They just, at that moment of a tear, what was produced at that moment? An opportunity for closeness. The pitaron, the solving of the solution, is not so much about closeness anymore. That's more the light of Yehi Or. There's light, physical light, and based on that, Chochmah, I'll try to figure out how to fix the inyan. But the light of Bereshis Bara Elokim, when it cries, it's not looking for pitronot. It's not looking for solutions. How do you know if you're crying on the level of Torah Sheba'al Peh? Is if you're not crying over anything specific. You're not crying over anything specific. You're just crying. If you have one friend that in their presence you could cry over something with them, that is unbelievable. The ultimate is if you have one friend that with them you just cry and there's actually no reason whatsoever. There's no reason whatsoever. Shlomo, on the back of one of his albums, in the early days, one of the early ones in the 60s, he wrote, my friends, within each of the songs in this album, there's something waiting for you. It's a gift from me to you. there's a tear. Don't wipe that tear away. Don't wipe that tear away. I'm thinking now there's certain pieces of footage where I've seen him starting to cry in the middle of a happy song. He starts crying. And you can't really see it unless you're really paying attention. And it's literally this. There's one famous piece of footage of walking down the streets of Leningrad. I'm getting the chills because it was exactly, I think exactly today. What's the date today? Chav Daled, right? Chav Daled Elul, 1989. He was on a tour in Russia. I'll send this to you if you want afterwards. He's walking down the street. He woke up in the morning at a concert at night in Leningrad. And he decided that he has to go out to the Am, to the people.
Bring him flowers.
Right, that little girl brought him some flowers. I've shared it before. It's an unbelievable few minutes of Teshuva. And he's walking down the streets. Yehuda Katz is right there with him. Danny Bienenfeld is playing with him. Reuven Gilmore was there with him. A few chaver were with him. And suddenly he goes to a square, like a square in the center of town, and he just starts singing. And like a Hollywood set, I'm not kidding, crowds starts coming around him. This is Russia, 1989. Closeness? Closeness? The complete antithesis of a reality of closeness is what was going on there. B'mechila, Sasha. But you know what I mean. Sasha's the tikkun for all of it, right? There was a closeness. So he starts walking down the street. More people. One guy that he was wearing a big cross over here grabs Reb Shlomo's arm and he starts dancing with him down the street. A little girl out of nowhere pops up and hands him a bouquet of flowers. And suddenly there's hundreds of people dancing down this main street in Leningrad with him. And he's singing, David Melech, Melech Yisrael, and he starts going, da 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 da. Tears are coming down. What's he crying over? He's crying over closeness to Istakel Baraisel Bara Alma. When God thought of creating the world, and he looked into the Torah and it created the world, how often can we say, this is what I think the Rebbeinu Shalom had in mind when he created the world, that it should look like this? How often can we say that about our lives? How often can we say that about the world? And then sometimes you have moments like this, it brings out a dimma. You can't explain it. I have to send this to you guys. Lena did today. It is exactly what we're speaking about. Tears that aren't there to cry over something specific. It's just tasting closeness because it's awesome. It's awesome. It's awe. It's weird because I feel like saying it's awful, but awe, in the context of full of awe. I don't know why awful became the word. Oh, that's awful.
A-W.
Yeah, because it's, oh.
They should have changed. They should have used a different word. It's too close. Full of, like the difference between full of awe and awful is or v'choshech, you know? These are days that are filled with awesome, right? Awesome. So look how he says, again, imagine chas v'sholom, my baby falls off a chair, and the first thing is that she's crying. You know what it is? She doesn't yet talk about fixing the hurt. Maybe later she will. First she needs someone to cry with, later comes the fixing. On Rosh Hashanah, the first thing is tkiyas shofar. I'm not fixing what I did wrong. I mamish just want to cry my heart out. Then comes Aseret Simei Teshuva, and I'm starting to fix it. But only the one who is close enough to me that I can cry before them, that is the one who will fix me. Meaning, only if I could cry before Borei Olam can I get a sense that my tikkun is on its way.
When we say Hazar and Bedima, if you're Zareh with closeness to Hashem, then Berina Yiktzara.
If Shalagid it's but here it means we're not even thinking about Berina Yiktzara. There's no machshava about that bichlal.
But we should be constant closeness with Hashem.
Legamre. It's we're not focused on anything else. Like Rabbi Nachman once said, if you go into his Poididus session with the kavana and the menu and the recipe of how to cry, you're missing the point. And he said, and even if you end up crying, you still miss the point. That's not what I'm talking about by this. It's mufrash muvdal from any world of expectation, completely. You don't even care about how things will be fixed. And you're not even hazardim. That's why it doesn't stem so much, because you're not consciously planting anything. You're not doing a ma'aseh. You're mufresh from this. You're just allowing yourself to get a taste of your own neshama. Now he answers the question we all have. Do you know why people don't cry? Not only do they not cry before other people, but they also don't cry, period. They're not even close enough to their own souls. That's why they don't cry. They're not even close enough to their own souls. They're strangers to their own body and their own soul, afraid to cry. But Chodesh Elul, what am I saying every day in the David Hashem Yishi? Chodesh Elul is all about Lecha Amar Libi. I'm talking to my own heart and to my own soul. And therefore on Rosh Hashanah I'm close to God and I'm close to myself. And this is what Yamim Noraim means, awesome days. So, what do they call it in America, the Yamim Noraim? High holy days, right? High holy days. I just want to give us a bracha and to daven with you that if it was ever a Torah that we learned that we're davening, that Ribbon Shleilam, please open my heart that this Torah should be a lemaisa, it'd be right now. Because we all want real friends. We actually want friends, like in general. We want friends like this, and we also are chalishing to be able to stop being strangers to our own neshama. And the way that you know that you're not a stranger to your own neshama is through this world of Tkiya. And that's why we start the year off like this, because we don't want to go into Tafshin Pei Vav just making sure that I know perfect the Torah of Yehi Or. The Torah of Yehi Or, I could learn it better and better every year by learning Torah. That's Torah Shebichtav. I'll sit with my Daf Yomi and feel frum. My neshama has no shaykhs to that in a direct way. My neshama is chalashing to be able to be, I'm here, yeah, I exist here, I'm here. Thank you for acknowledging my presence. That's what the soul is that's what the whole Tanya is about. That's what the neshama is chalashing for. And if we could start to take our chabura and our chevras to the next level, it's great to laugh and it's healthy. Sometimes it's holy. It's healthy, it's good to laugh with each other, it's good. But check in and see, do you have one person in your life that you could cry with? And again, Reuven, this last 2 years has squeezed out more dma'ot in our lifetime than any other b'chelik in our life, 100%. But to cry with someone, that's le'ela. We're going to get there. We're going to get there because this is our ratzon. I believe it's what we want more than anything. We're going to get there. Amen. And this is our knisan to the new year. Shekayach, everybody.
Amen.